Um, Thank you, Elizabeth, for grabbing the recording. Um, and we'll go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. The Michigan Coalition Against Homelessness serves as an inclusive voice, and I just lost the slides, to improve systems and and community support communities in a way that leaves no one behind. This is going to be very important as we all work together in this coming year, as we can continue to see attacks on the homeless response system. So, appreciate you all taking time again to be here. Next slide. The policy priorities, they're the same right now. As we go forward into the 2026, we're going to take a look at these, reevaluate these, but we still have the 2025 policy priorities as we enter 2026. Next slide, please. Slide. What we're doing today, we have the welcome, federal and state updates, mic updates, and then where you come in. I know there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of conversations going on out there. Please use this time today to, if you have questions, concerns, don't understand what things mean. Uh, Sarah's on here as our in-house legal counsel and our senior director of advocacy. Eric's been in a lot of conversations at the state level and federal level with partner units. And then, I will jump in where I can assist. And then all of you have talked at the local level and through your partners. Please feel free to add as we continue this conversation. Next slide, please. Again, nothing has changed here. This is where we're sitting. We're continuing to work on a continuing resolution for the THUD bill. The total funding for as proposed, you can see here, the House did move a few of their budgets last week. There were 9 full year budgets remaining, and the House moved 3 of those. We are continuing to track that. They have said that the budgets are going to move in tranches with HUD and Department of Defense, and I believe it was Homeland Security being wrapped up in the last tranche of bills to move. Um, and as you know, things have been going on, we'll talk about in a few minutes here, that may actually slow that down. But again, continuing resolution runs out on January 30th. Next slide, please. Breaking down of how the proposals were laid out. Um, the president's budget was bad for everybody. The House proposal was less bad, and the Senate proposal was okay. That's how I view it. Obviously, the closer we are to the Senate proposal, the better. We would love to see a little bit more of an increase, but I would take the Senate proposal as a victory for this year. But the devil's in the details, as you know. Um, what'll happen as these bills move through the process, they will go to a conference committee because the bills to be presented to the president have to be the exact same form, passed both in the House and the Senate. And right now, they are both, the House and Senate are working on their own proposals. Next slide, please. What does this mean to you? New year, same Congress. We didn't change legislative terms. It is the same Congress. We have that continuing resolution that expires on January 30th. Um, we have um, we have the House passed 3 of their budgets on January 3rd. We have the Senate has not moved on any of their budgets, but I have had good conversations with Senator Slotkin's office. They have said that certain questions get raised as they get closer and closer to moving budgets. And they started having those questions asked last week. So they were confident that the T-HUD bill, which is rolled up into the Department of Defense budget, so they're what they're called mini buses. So of the nine budgets remaining, um, they were rolled up into three mini buses, and Department of Defense is the lead budget for the T-HUD bill. And in that mini budget, again, it's the last group to go. They felt it was the least political, and but nobody saw Venezuela on the horizon. Nobody saw Greenland on the horizon. Nobody saw Department of Justice seeking subpoenas against the Federal Reserve, the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board. All these things are going to make the budget process more contentious. Congress is going to want to flex their muscle, their beliefs onto the executive branch. Congress as that co-equal branch. You've probably heard overnight, Senator Tillis, who is retiring at the end of this term from North Carolina, said he's going to put a hold on any Federal Reserve Board nominations by the president, meaning he won't act on them. And he also was very upset about Venezuela and about Greenland. He actually was remarked in saying that Greenland, that Congress has a voice in setting foreign policy, and that the president does not speak on behalf of Congress. So there's a lot of playing going on in the background, a lot of noise out there. Um, doesn't change where you all are at, but it kind of explains why things may or may not happen by January 30th. Senator Reid, Democrat from Rhode Island, has an amendment to the T-HUD full year budget that requires an honoring of the 2-year NOFO. I talked to Senator Slotkin's office the other day. They are supportive of it. Senator Peters' office is supportive of it. So now there just needs to be a few more Republicans. National Alliance to End Homelessness, the National Low Income Housing Coalition are putting pressure on their, not putting pressure, but asking their membership to reach out to the Republican members in their state for the state Senate or for U.S. Senate um, to support these amendments. Um, However, Senator Tillis, back in December, when these amendments were being considered, put up um, a companion amendment to give Republicans a chance to vote on an amendment towards the T-HUD bill, but not support the Senator Reid amendment that said that HUD would prioritize tier one amendments or tier one priorities in the 2024-25 NOFO. It kind of was a big do nothing amendment. But again, the Venezuela, Greenland, now Federal Reserve Board may change Senator Tillis's tune on how he supports this amendment or withdraws this amendment. So these are all things that are playing on in the background on Capitol Hill in DC that we don't see, that we don't know what's going on. So, if people ask, we continue to support the Senator Reid amendment, which honors the 2-year NOFO, which would then make the court case moot if that 2-year NOFO went through, requiring HUD to do that. House is a little bit more contentious. They are moving things, but a little bit more slowly, a little bit more bipartisan. Due to a Representative LaMalfa from California passing away unexpectedly. And then I'm drawing a blank, but one of the congressmen was in a horrible car accident. House Republicans can only lose 2 votes. So things have to be a little bit more bipartisan, a little bit more careful. Um, as you know, they did push out an extension for the Affordable Care Act uh, subsidies, the marketplace subsidies the other day. So you're seeing a little bit more coming out there. And don't forget, we're heading into an election year. Yay! So things are going to get a little bit more contentious as we go further into the year. Things are going to get you're going to see less and less work. The trips home to the district are going to be longer, which then gives you the opportunity to show off what you all do on a daily basis and get those members of Congress to come see your facilities, come see what you do, to understand um, that Housing First works and that you all need as much support and that you can get as we are facing a housing crisis in Michigan. I know, next slide, please. The big thing everybody's asking about is the litigation. I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Sarah Rennie, who's our Senior Director of Advocacy. She's also our in-house, acting as our in-house legal counsel. And she knows this inside and out and has worked with the Attorney General for the state of Michigan on this lawsuit that Micah is is a party to. Go ahead, Sarah. Thank you.
Hey everybody. Sarah Rennie. I just want this slide is just to what was wrong. So I'm gonna lay this out so it's not because there's so many NOFOs. Um, what I tend to refer to is 24, 25, we're gonna call NOFO A. The NOFO that was then released in first in 25 is NOFO B, and the last NOFO is NOFO C. That way we keep all of these NOFOs sorted. This is just a slide to remind you what was wrong with NOFO B. There were significant constitutional and structural issues that were the basis of litigation. Next slide. As you'll know, and thank you if you've become a member and supported this effort. If you haven't, please consider becoming a member. Micah has done a great deal of advocacy working with AG Nessel. Kudos to her office. And a separate lawsuit with essentially the same claims was also filed by NEH and Democracy Forward. All of this, next slide, all of this litigation was on the underlying issues on NOFO-B. There was a request for an interim hearing or an interim order saying that essentially HUD could not move forward with NOFO-B. And at 2:30 of that, before the hearing, the timing is important. HUD tried to withdraw NOFO-B and later issue NOFO-C. Next slide. However, the court said this is clearly an attempt to get around me ruling on NOFO-B, so we're not going to let you do that. You don't get to withdraw NOFO-B. So while there is this NOFO-C, it has no force or effect. It's just out there. The litigation's on NOFO-B. Next slide. However, the court also said you can't withdraw this NOFO, and you, HUD, have to prepare to grant awards, not grant them, but be ready to, as if 24, 25 NOFO or NOFO A is the one that controls. So what COCs are going to have to do, next slide, is provide renewals and a renewal that is due to 9 under 24-25 and reallocations pursuant to the 24-25 NOFO. Now, it's my understanding that HUD has yet to send you all the documents if you're a COC that you need to apply for this. So there's a lot of question around exactly what the form of that application will take, but the purpose of it is that if HUD loses the lawsuit, then HUD can give out awards very quickly and there'll be less gap. So essentially, if the case is resolved and there's no appeal, um, and it's resolved in our favor, you could get awards in March. It's not likely, but that is the best date because that doesn't take into account an appeal period. I do think there's a very strong case, but that doesn't take into account that it's there's at least a potential that the government could shut down or HUD could appeal this court. Let's stop there and see if anyone has any questions before we go on. Most of you have heard some version of this, but we do want to make sure we're always on the same page. Okay, next slide. So one of the things we're saying is for the COCs, be aware of what's coming out. We know that, you probably can't do much until the 16th, until HUD really gives their full guidance, but understand that you're applying under the 24-25 NOFO. There's no awards going to be granted unless we prevail in the litigation. We will continue to provide you technical assistance and update as the litigation moves forward. But we also want you, because this is hard for folks to understand, and we have a briefing document that I think Nick can probably or stick in the chat. If not, I will when I'm done presenting. Essentially, you need to let your communities know that between January and June was when we expect the soonest really to for all this to be resolved. There's going to be programs that have expired, which means individuals will lose their rent, and that means that there will be potentially more homeless. There'll be pain. People will be out on the streets, which will cause a lot of challenges for communities. So we're asking the state to help provide $12.5 million in gap funding, and they're not hearing enough from you. So we need you to go in and send a legislative tracker, send a letter, but more than that, invite people to your community, invite your reps, your state reps, let them blow up their phones, let them know that this is a real concern. Nick?
Yeah, so this, really, the National Alliance to End Homelessness, along with their partners, the National Low Income Housing Coalition, send out updated information. It all refers back to the NAEH website. I posted that in the chat. That'll give you the up-to-date information. We do have a letter for our federal delegation to support the 2-year NOFO. Literally right before I got on this meeting, NAEH sent over some more requests on how the letter will be constructed. So I will be sending out a new letter probably later today, asking for people to call, not just email, because this is so dire. Um, you know, for these for this issue. Um, so I ask you, if you have not reached out to your member of Congress for the 2-year NOFO, especially in the House, especially Republican members, reach out and talk to them. Pick up the phone, call them, because it is of the utmost importance that we get this funding. I tell people all the time, we can have policy arguments, we can have policy discussions. I know through our data what Housing First does. Um, we can have that discussion later, but we're doing a mid fiscal year change that is going to put our most vulnerable population in harm's way. And we're going to possibly have people out on the streets in February, March in Michigan, and people and families, seniors, veterans are going to possibly die or, be injured. These aren't things we want to do. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to put out there the urgency related to this. And I know many of you have been attending these meetings over the last several years, and some of you have gotten engaged when we've had the call to action. If you have not before, I'm asking you to do so now. And if you're relatively new to this group and you've never actually had the opportunity to pursue any engagement with your members of Congress, I again strongly encourage you to do it. We're having better types of communication with with the blue side of the aisle, as you might imagine, but that doesn't mean that they are necessarily pushing this with the aggressive tone and tenor that they need with their peers. Even folks who are on the Democratic side in the House need to hear more from you. On the red side, we certainly need to be thinking in terms of better engagement with those offices. We have not necessarily had the best engagement with those offices, but you are constituents. You represent people who are in their district. And I think that at times their ears are open more when those kinds of contacts come in. So it's really imperative for you to be reaching out to members of Congress, particularly Republicans, who are representing um, constituents in your service area or where you live as an individual, or the service area where your agency or your COC or your local planning body is a part of the district or districts. This is the time now, because if we don't get some traction here, we're not going to be able to go back in 6 months or in 12 months and try to make things right. We need to stave this off now, if at all possible.
I would add, many of you are like, well, what will I say? I have uploaded our most recent talking points into a chat so that you can use those as the basis of any call. That really lays out the basis of why this is happening. And then talk about your own experiences and why you're concerned, because really that's what people they want to know about their constituents. How will this affect their community?
Yeah, and that's a great segue. Thank you, Sarah, for reading my mind. Yeah, I had a call with Congresswoman Tlaib's office, who is very concerned about the COC no-fault process and what's going on. And they did not know how this was going to impact her congressional district. I had it broken down by a spreadsheet that we're keeping track of. I can only talk about what I see in the spreadsheet and what we know. I can't tell the stories of, this family, that family. That's where y'all's advocacy, to slip back into my southern days, y'all's advocacy is the most important, is to share those stories. Talk about that individual family that you got off the street that is going to be returning to homelessness just because of a mid fiscal year policy change. Um, that's very important to continue to talk, get their thoughts, and figure out what works. Give me a call, give Sarah a call, give Eric a call. We're always here to help, and walk you through the discussion and talk about things that worked in other parts of the state or in your part of the state. Next slide, please. Congress works for you. Take action. I said we'll have another letter coming out today. We'll ask people to call, to be a little bit more urgent. Next slide.
Just there's a question from Ashley. Thank you for the talking point. So this is for state representatives and where we are registered voters. Yes. Registered voters are, I'd say, and Nick can correct me if I'm wrong, if live in Ferndale but you work in Detroit, you probably need to call both so they understand, your concern on Ferndale, but also your experience in Detroit.
Yeah, and I'll tell you from being a recovering Senate staffer, you get so many emails, so many reach out. If it doesn't have your district in there, I used to represent the center I work for represented Detroit, Dearborn Heights. If it didn't come from one of those three municipalities, where it went on the priority list was much lower. Or if there wasn't a tie back to the community, just because you have you have to prioritize your constituent needs and what your constituency is asking for. Next slide.
Hey, sorry, Nick, can I just jump in and talk about some specifics here? If we're talking about projects that are coming to the end of their cycle, if we're talking about the Lansing Housing Commission having a project that's going to be ending at the end of February, those are the specific things that need to be shared with a legislator. They need to understand the number of people that may be affected by it and what the timeline is and what the urgency is here, because I don't think they're necessarily hearing that. Now, of course, not all projects fall within the deadline of February, but if you look at this year's round, you have January already, you have February, March, April, May. You're seeing those cycle out. And so we need to be able to quantify. We need to talk about what projects, what services are provided to people that will be lost, how many people will lose their housing, how many families, et cetera. You all have that data at the COC level, and your agencies also, if you're operating one of those projects, would have that kind of data. That's what they need to hear to be able to put it into the context of people and the quantity and the urgency that we're talking about.
Thank you, Eric. That's spot on. And it resonates. I mean, I brought it up to a elected official, what the impact was going to be to their district the other day. And they couldn't believe it. They hadn't heard from their COC. They hadn't heard from any of their service providers. And they asked me, well, what are, of these households, what do they look like? How many children? I said, all I know is it's uh, this number of households. And, so you all have the definitive data, and you all can make a huge impact. Next slide, please. New legislative year begins January 14th at noon. That is the state constitution's first date of the new session of the legislative term. Again, partisan fighting has already started. As you recall, there's some work project language at the end of last year that the House unilaterally denied. The Attorney General, 2 days ago, or Friday, issued a letter, maybe it was last week sometime, issued a letter that said the ruling or the decision by the House was unconstitutional. Now the House is going to sue the AG. You still have the the 7 bills that weren't presented to the governor, still going through the appeals process and up to the state Supreme Court. You also have the 35th Senate district that is up for a special election with primary in May, election in August. So you have that coming down that may turn the Senate into a 1919 tie or 2018 Democratic majority. So there's a lot of moving pieces. You're going to see the rhetoric kick up, especially as we get through the nominating conventions with the governor, Secretary of State, AG, Senate, House. They're all up for election cycles. Senate's going to have huge turnover. I think you're going to have 9 Democrats departing and 10 Republicans departing because of term limits. So you're going to get a whole new crop. It's just going to be a lot of chaos. They're going to probably have a quick budget cycle. They'll probably have less information. They'll have less time in Lansing. They'll be spending more time in the district, which is good for you because you get to invite them to your location, have them come do tours. And as you get further and further in the process, especially if you have a term limited legislature, start building relationships with some of the candidates, especially in areas that are safe Republican or safe Democrat. Build those relationships so that when they get into office, they have a baseline of knowledge. Next slide, please. Question I always get is what Eric alluded to and Sarah alluded to, that we need this 12.5 million to keep the programs running through the end of June. What about a supplemental? The political dynamics really make a supplemental nearly impossible. Especially with the House vacating those work projects and now pendable lawsuit, the gap funding is needed now. I said it could be needed as early as now because that's how quickly we're having to move. If we wait for a budget, if we wait for action, it's going to take longer and longer. We need people telling their legislators that this is now. We need it now. Um, you know, I get it. Some people are being backfilled by their county, their city, their, township, philanthropic groups, but that works for one community. This is a fight for the entire state. We all have to realize that this is for the entire state. And really, the philanthropic dollars may be here today. They're not going to be here a year from now, 2 years from now. If this court case lags on, are they going to be able to sustain that for another 6 to 9 months, maybe a year? Who knows? So this money is needed. Um, Again, what does this mean? State gets about 108 million from the federal government to run this program. There's 237 million still on the balance sheet, so there is money out there. I know they like to say there's not, but there is. And we're asking our friends in DHHS, MISHDA, and all throughout state government. I've had conversations with state budget office, the governor's office. Turn over the couches. Let's figure out where this money is because we like to do a lot of money in economic development, but now our most vulnerable are in need, and we're trying to figure out how we move forward. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Sarah, I was just thinking about some of the additional support that people have been requesting when we think about interaction with COC specifically. Just trying to get a sense for whether or not people on this call feel like they need some additional guidance to feel prepared to be able to reach out to offices and to set up meetings and talk the talk, et cetera, et cetera. So I would like to just jump in here and ask for a show of hands if people can raise their hand or give a thumbs up if they feel like they're not quite equipped to be able to do this in the way that we're asking, where they might be looking for some additional help of a quick webinar, et cetera, to make sure that you feel like you have the tools you need and are comfortable with moving forward with it. All right, just taking a look here. Thank you. I'm not sure, I don't want to put you on the spot, Sarah or Nick, but I think maybe that's something when we're looking at providing the tools of having some type of additional guidance for folks to get them prepped and ready to go. So let's think about that, reaching out to folks. Sorry about doing that in the middle of the meeting, but I just felt it was important to kind of gauge the room and see who would like to take action, but are feeling a little less equipped to do it. And if we can help, I'd like to do that.
That's
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
That's something we've been talking about. We will definitely try to get a sense of what your tools you need, and stay tuned because we are. It's good to know that you're open to that and that there are folks who need that because we had a sense that it might be helpful. Nick.
Yeah, and in the meantime, uh, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I'll drop my email and my phone number in here. Please call anytime, email anytime, even if it's a real quick question or a very, how do I talk to member so and so? What should I avoid? What should I do? I will walk through that with you, and we will definitely set up a webinar to go through all this. Next slide, please. Again, you all are boots on the ground. What is working? What have you heard? Have you had any conversations with any of your elected officials? Have you had positive responses? I know Washtenaw County folk that are on the phone or on this call. I talked to Jeff Irwin this morning, so I know he's engaged, and you all have done a great job. But for those that are from, different areas, uh, has anybody, feel free to come off mute and share your experience. Does anybody want to share? All right. So, we do appreciate everybody. Oh, go ahead, Max.
Hi. I will say, one just quick highlight was before kind of the winter holidays, we were able to connect with somebody from Lisa McLean's office, and we're able to have a meeting with him to talk through kind of the impact, at least as Lighthouse sees it, being based in Oakland County and knowing the northern part of Oakland County is in her district, and talking through um, what impact the NOFO situation and some of these other things that we were talking about today would have on her constituents there. And it was interesting because there was a overall just like a complete lack of knowledge and understanding that we were able to give information that the person we were meeting with did not already have, and had an ability to kind of start shaping and building the relationship there, and what his understanding of homelessness looks like in throughout the Thumb region, Oakland County, and Macomb County, where a majority of their constituents are located. So it was really interesting to have that conversation, and hopefully be able to continue to build that, and hopefully get our perspective a foundation prior to any other biases or any other like misunderstandings that they might have already.
No, that's great, Max, and appreciate you reaching out to Congresswoman McLean's office. Because I think it's important that we continue to share this message with um, both sides of the aisle, because it affects everybody's constituents, and everybody um, has somebody that they're, couple degrees of separation from, that is affected by homelessness, or they have somebody that they've known their whole life that has um, um, dealt with homelessness. So, that it is important to share what is going on, and to let them know that uh, the rhetoric isn't always the truth, and what the reality is on the ground. So thanks, Max, for sharing.
Let me also add that, we're talking about members of Congress and also members of the state legislature, but if you have an awareness of conversations taking place with local officials, whether it be the county level, whether it be township, whether it be city or village, let us know about that as well, because those conversations, while you might not think they have a direct impact on what's happening at the state and federal level, may be very important for us, again, to make sure people who are setting policy and allocating dollars know what's going on. Because I think that, Max, your comment about the representative's office not having an awareness of the issue is not unusual. That's why it's really on us to ensure we're talking far and wide to make people understand what's happening, because it's not an issue that's necessarily on people's forefront. And we need to make sure that they understand what's going on, and if they have the ability to reach out and to use their network to help communicate concerns that they have, so be it. Let's get them to help us out with that, but they need to know about it. So, anybody have any experience with folks at the local level? Yeah, thanks, Amanda. I see you're presenting to your Board of Commissioners. Perfect example right there. Appreciate you sharing.
You hear me?
Yeah, this.
Yeah. I was just going to mention, I've been on calls today with our elected officials locally, and, trying to go up the pipeline of people, but definitely getting your messaging as clear and concise as possible is really helpful, because this is such a complex issue, and the funding is complex. And so we've really tried to just like keep these little sound bites, like HUD is changing its policies to, cut evidence-based programming. This is how much money we're looking at locally. This is how much money in the state we're looking at cuts to. And these are the number of people that will be affected.
That's great, Amanda. No, that is, when you drive it home at the local level, it makes it a huge impact. And I think a lot of times because we work in the space, we understand the COCs and we understand how the lingo, and it's a complicated process, but at the end of the day, we're putting people in harm's way because of a mid fiscal year policy change. And I think when you say people are going to be out on the streets suffering in winter, that starts to resonate more than, well, in 20 fiscal year 24-25, NOFO, this happened, that we kind of lose the messaging. So, the more you can drive home the local impact and what people will see, it is important. Any other thoughts? All right, next slide. We have our bill tracker. It also has a letter for the state legislature requesting that $12.5 million. I've been out there talking about it. Again, if you're from a more Republican area, please get on there, send those letters. If you're from a Democratic area, please send those letters. It is important that we continue to push and let people know that this is important. Additionally, it has our bill tracker on there. It kind of tells you what bills are up in the state legislature, where they're at, and then also, if we support those or if we're opposed to those. And for those that see that we do have one that we oppose, if you click in there, if you click into the bill, it will show you why we're opposed to it. It's a little bit more nuanced. So just so that you know that it's out there. Next slide, please. Advocacy is crucial. You have national sign-on letters. You can go testify. We are talking about doing a possible hearing in the state Senate. If you have families that are impacted, I know Congresswoman Tlaib, Secretary Turner is going to be in front of her committee. If you have families or stories that can talk about the impact of these cuts, of what this will look like. If you have service providers, if you're a service provider that can talk about the impacts to your programs that these cuts will have, please reach out to me, especially if you're in Congresswoman Tlaib's district. I would love to link you up with her office for Secretary Turner's testimony in a couple weeks. For those that are on the state side, if you're willing to share, let's have a conversation, see if we can work in something if the state Senate has a hearing on the COC program. Reach out, talk to me, and we'll work together to continue the advocacy. Next slide, please. We're on to MICA updates. Next slide. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
All right, everyone. So we've got some about 3 upcoming trainings and webinars in January and February.
And if
So
I can jump in here, Elizabeth.
What's that?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna jump in this. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to let you both know this training is canceled. We didn't have enough engagement. It will be offered again, though.
Okay, perfect. We'll just ignore this slide.
Yep. Sorry about that.
It's okay. All right. So starting in February, then we have the Forest Outreach, which is working together to serve hidden populations. That'll be on February 9th, virtual. We've got some different cost levels for members and non-members, and there is a CEU available. This session will highlight effective strategies used by True North's Housing Resource Center and the West Michigan Housing Network to identify and engage these populations, to build trust, and reduce barriers such as isolation, transportation, and limited resources. Okay, and then the next one is going to be on the 25th. And this training is going to be a nonpartisan webinar on the importance of supporting people experiencing homelessness during the cold weather months. So this is especially relevant right now. Most of our clients, citizens or not, do not have access to any documentation. So this webinar will go through best practices in providing shelter, assisting in obtaining those documents, and meeting people where they are. So yeah, it's supporting persons in homelessness regardless of their access to documentation, also virtual.
Yeah, this is where Amy usually steps in. I know there'll be new policy in place, videos coming out, talking about just kind of what's going on as we hit the new year. Stay tuned to those. You'll see them on our social media. If you're not tied to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, please like our page, follow our page, so you can stay tuned to the most recent updates. Next slide, please.
Oh, I was just going to also add, we need to share those, and there'll be more coming. The more we can get out sort of the information about what's going on, the better. So please also share our updates. I think this next slide is also me. The Bridges to Belonging Collaborative Work Group. What this is a group of allied professionals. So housing impacts health and health, social services, law enforcement, prosecution. And this group is those allied professionals, although housing services folks are welcome, to think about how we can work together to respond. Our last meeting was a discussion of the Medicaid redetermination requirements. And our next meeting will continue that conversation on how we can troubleshoot and make it as least painful as possible when redetermination is required for the clients that we serve by working together. So please come if you want to be added to the email chain on Bridges to Belonging. Please let me know and share with law enforcement, prosecution, health folks, because all of those folks are going to be affected by changes and cuts to the homeless service delivery process.
Next slide, please. We got, sorry, I thought I updated this slide, but the next LAC is coming up in the first Monday in February. If you have not signed up, please do so. And then we do have Homeless Advocacy Day. It is locked in. We do have a ongoing sign up. Join us for Advocacy Day. It'll be great. We'll have training. We'll talk to members. We're going to be in the Mackinac room, which if you haven't been to the Mackinac room in the House office building, it's beautiful. You get to spend a full day with myself and Eric and Sarah. I mean, you can't have three better people to hang out with all day. We will have a guest speaker. State Rep Emily Devendorf will be our guest speaker for the day. She also was gracious to host us for the Mackinac room. So it'll be a great event. Look forward to as many people as we can get to come to that day. Again, that's April 21st. And next slide, please. If you've met with your elected officials, please reach out to us. Let us know what's going on. If you don't feel like sharing in this group, that's fine. If you hear positive feedback, negative feedback, whatever it is, just reach out to us. Tell us what's going on. Maybe we can give you a better way to word something. Maybe we can help reframe the conversation or share what somebody else has done. Don't be afraid to reach out and let us know. Next slide, please.
It also helps us understand what's going on in the field and keep track of who's been able to connect with their legislatures. So even if you don't have questions, just shoot us an email that's like, I met with so and so, here's what happened. It really does help us keep track of what's going on.
And like I said, don't be afraid to reach out. Um, and let me know what's going on. If you have questions, concerns, if you want to just go through some thoughts on, what has worked with your member or a conversation you had with a county commissioner. We're also hearing a lot of criminalization of homelessness. I just caught a article about a new ordinance that passed in a township in Genesee County. Basically criminalizing sleeping in parks, being in parked cars after dark. Uh, it's under the guise of we're going to make sure that they get connected to resources. But what it does is it further marginalizes people, pushes them to the further and further away from services. It also makes it harder for you all to track where they are living if they continue to be pushed out of communities. So if you hear about things like that, please let us know so we can let some of our national partners know so that we can also engage with the elected officials early and often. It takes the entire team to do this. But we're able to do what we do because of our membership. If you are not a member of MICA, please think about joining MICA. If your organization is not an organizational member, please think about having your organization sign up as a organizational membership. I'm dropping the membership page into chat right now. Again, it allows us to do what we do and continue to advocate on your behalf. With that, we'll open the floor to any questions or concerns as we have the last few minutes here. All right, Eric, do you have any final thoughts?
Sure. I wanted to thank everybody for being here. Another great turnout. Thank you all for participating in this process. I know you're busy. There's a lot going on. You got a lot of stressors in your agency and in your community. And I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing and encourage you to keep your nose to the grindstone on it. Collectively, we're going to be able to make an impact here. But again, I'm going to throw down that gauntlet and urge each of you to take that action step and participate in this process. If you haven't done it before, this is the time to do it. If you've done it before, now's the time to do it twice. So let's all do this as was stated by Nick. We are a team. You are here, so you're a part of the MICA team. We're all together working on this, and we can't do it alone. So let's all roll up our sleeves and make a difference happen.
Thank you, Eric. Sarah, I know you have been working on this lawsuit, on the litigation, for a long time and are the expert. Do you have anything to leave us with on this litigation?
Only that, this is a marathon, not a sprint, so we have to think in multiple directions. I think litigation is going to prevail, but we need to stay in advocacy mode for the people we serve because we need to make sure nobody goes unhoused while we litigate the matter.
With that, I thank everybody for joining us today. Please, if you have any questions, concerns, follow up, anytime, reach out and call me, send me an email. This has been recorded. We will send this out along with the slides in the next couple days. So if you weren't able to catch something, please look forward to that email. Until we will see you in February. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your week.
Thank you.